view in gallery view. Recording. Okay, hi guys. We are joined today with Brian Fox from Fox Physiotherapy based in Cork in South Ireland. Brian, thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us today. Brian is probably one of our longest serving clients with PracticeNav. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing for he's suffering with us for so long. So Brian, just give us a brief intro there and an overview of who you are and what you're about, and then we'll shoot some rapid fire questions at you then.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Colin. Cheers for that, Colin. So started off just over 10 years ago, single person practice, and did what everyone else does, try and get the business busy, and then forgot that I had a business in behind it, and really had to work on that. So we've grown really steadily, and really it took me kind of 5 years to realize, how important it was to actually start working on the business rather than just being, a clinician. And I think that was the key element for me, really, is realizing that it's a business as well as being clinically, chasing clinical excellence, that it's a business as well. And you need to put the equal focus on that as you do to being a good clinician at the same time and serving your clients well. So we've grown. So we were at last year, we were at 5 full-time physios and two full-time admin. Obviously, COVID has put a little bit of stop to our gallop there, so we're slightly reduced numbers wise, but we'll get back to that in the next 12 months. So we're actually back in the recruitment drive again. So we've been very, very fortunate, and I think, going forward, physio wise, we're all in a fairly good place. Give it another 12 months, we'll all hopefully be in a much better place, business wise.
Perfect. Okay, and then so that was for the first 5 years. You were just driving, single practitioner. Let's get as many bodies on the beds as we can. Let's turn over as much as we can. And so what was that like, I suppose? Can you give us a snapshot of what your probably work week was like before you probably looked for a little bit of help with PracticeNav?
Yeah, I was, to be honest, unsustainable is probably the probably right word here. I was seeing, anything from 17 to 20 patients a day, working 6 days a week. And yeah, revenue was great, but I was absolutely burnt out. The hours were absolutely crazy. I was doing 75 to 80 hours a week, and that's not an exaggeration. That was happening.
I've seen the diary.
Yeah, it did happen. And I'm not proud of it. There was a point in time that, I thought that equals success, and it doesn't. It just equals burnout. Personal relationships suffer, life suffers, everything suffers around it. And again, inherently your performance suffers as a consequence as a physio, and you can't serve your clients well, and you can't work at that level all the time. So really, that's where I sought out the help from PracticeNav, really, and that's been a real game changer for me, as regards really looking at the business rather than just getting bums on seats in a clinic and seeing patients all day long. Really getting a good structure around our admin, delegating out, hiring well, training well, and really reducing my hours. Really, now I'm at a position where I'm working 4 days a week clinically and 1 day a week, essentially on the business. When we have a new hire, which will come in the next month, I'll be back to 3 days a week clinically, 2 days on the business, and that's what it needs. That's what it really needs, and the guys have really helped me get a focus on that, which equals less hours for me, and more success in terms of the business. We're earning more money now than we ever were, because we have more people around who are able to take the responsibility. They're well trained. We've put in training programs for each physio, which is an absolute must. If you're going to hire people, you have to put time into them. So we do weekly one-on-ones. We have a 13-week full term training program for each physio who comes in with us, to get with the ethos of the clinics, to update their skill set. And if we need to go externally for that skill set, that's fine as well. We're happy to pay for the training. That's great. And then what we do is weekly one-on-ones on top of that.
And so obviously we've seen the transformation, which is great from our point of view, seeing our clients develop through their journey within the business. And if we look at those 6 stages of business, you've went from that initial sole trader hammering away to definitely a more structured one where you're looking at that 5 or 6 level, where you're looking at even exit strategy, and you're young, but you've still got a plan in place for going forward. And if we were to look at those changes, what would you say probably the most significant one was for you? If you were to say, if you can make one change,
yeah,
what would it be?
Yeah. I'd probably say two really, Colin, for that. I think number one is get a really good system in place, in terms of a system in place that you sit down and really kind of sit down and say, right, how am I going to run this practice? In terms of, have I good EMR? Have I good exercise software? Have I good email system? Really sit down and look at your systems. And it doesn't need to be, phenomenally complicated, with that. I think having a good system, at least you have a good foundation then to work the business on. The second thing as well is mindset, really. And I think that's been the biggest thing for me, really, is changing your idea about you flogging it all day long is not the solution to your problem, really. The solution and the biggest issue with burnout, really, in physios is that exact thing that I was doing, which is seeing as many patients as I can for as long as I could every day, going home flogged and rinse and repeat. That's not the way to grow a business. It's not the way, you're actually going to professionally, develop. Realistically, it's that mindset of shifting to be a business owner, as well as a physio. And I think it's getting out of that mindset that I'm only a clinician. You are now a business owner as well as a clinician. But, and that, I think that's the key thing for me, is that mindset shift is huge, really.
Okay. And on that then, if we were to look at, where do you see the healthcare profession or the physio profession going forward in the future?
I suppose the big thing as well, the big thing I would feel, and I've probably discussed this a lot in the PracticeNav group, which has been hugely beneficial for me, really. It's a weekly meeting there with Colin and like-minded physios to bounce ideas off, and it's great to have that. Really, for me, it's about us valuing ourselves more as physios. Charging 50 quid for a session the day that is gone. Personal trainers are charging that. We need to be valuing ourselves as clinicians. We need to be valuing the difference we're making in people's lives. We need to be charging accordingly and following up accordingly. So our standards have to rise, but we have to value what we do as well. I think that's a huge thing. I think probably the way the industry is going is stronger practices. The 1 or 2 man band, I think the day of that is numbered, and best of luck to the people who are in that. And, it's great to see them. And I was that person, but realistically, for clinic growth, for customer care to be better, we need 4 or 5 really high quality physios really driving each other on within a practice. Upping standards, challenging each other, having specialties, and I think that's a key thing, is getting a little bit more niche with what we do, be it women's health, be it orthopedics, be it, back pain. I think we really need to get niche. And I think that's probably where, the real benefit in the industry is going to be, is becoming more niche about what we do and really honing our treatments to serve our customers well, and realizing that we're customer service professionals as well as clinicians. We're not just clinicians.
Yeah. So, Brian, I think a lot of people in the PracticeNav plus weekly meetings really, really value your input, because you do speak a lot of sense. And I think that key word that you mentioned there is value. So many clinicians we see undervalue themselves. And you mentioned the €50, the €55. It's fascinating for me to see, oh yeah, it is that €50, €55 people are charging, but it's like the same other people, maybe competitors, are charging that, and they haven't got half as much training as you in the healthcare profession. So I think we do need to value ourselves, and we do need to set the standards higher. So if we do up our prices and charge more, that is going to have a better benefit on your business, and the clients will value that more then, because they'll value the investment more. That's just my personal feeling. What would you say to that?
No, very much so. Like, I even look at our metrics, like, simple metric of upping your price from, even if you want to call it 50 to 60, that's 1 patient less a day for you. So that equals more time for you to serve the patients you have. It equals more income. And for me, I suppose the value is time. Time is the value in all of this thing, because we're selling time. That's what we're inherently doing as physios. And if you can charge, let's call it 60, just as a prime example. If you're seeing 10 clients a day at 60, you have to see 12 at 50 for the same thing, so it's simple metrics around that. We've upped our price. We're at €75 now at this point in time. We're seeing a lot less clients. We're serving them much better. We've a lot freer time. So even the metrics on that alone, like, we've reduced we've reduced the number of clients we're seeing on a daily basis. None of us see more than 12 clients a day. 10 to 12 is where we're at. We were at sorry.
I'm just laughing there, because I can imagine people will be just rewinding there when you said, how much did he say there? Did he say 75? Yeah, and that's fantastic. And I think it's great to see clinicians valuing what you do. So to charge 75, I say, good on you, because I know for a fact that your clinic is top class, and they are getting more than just physio. They're getting the customer service, and it's the experience that they're receiving at your clinic makes a difference. So yeah, fair play on that one. But it is €75. Just if anyone went back and tried to just listen again, what did he say? 75? Yeah, it was 75. Yeah.
And you have to value yourself, and I think the difference you can make in people's lives, that's huge. Like, I don't think you can't put a number on that in a lot of cases. Like, and again, nobody cares about the price as long as they get the value. That's the key here. Nobody ever worried about, I got my back problem solved. The next question to follow up is never what it cost you.
And what would you say to people who say, oh, all physios then who raise their prices are money hungry?
That's business. You have to earn a crust, in one sense. And I don't accept that at all. Look at the value you're providing to people's life. Look at the level of training you've put in, the postgraduate course, the undergraduate courses, the times you stood at pitches in the lash and rain, all of that's experience. Plenty of other industries are well able to charge, and they're not often half the value we offer. And I think, it's not just the clinician experience element, it's the customer care, it's your front desk, it's all of that. The other side of things, if you're not going to charge, you're going to be constantly struggling, as a business. And you can't be afraid to charge. And if people are going to have a problem with it, and the reality is, in the end of it, the biggest problem you're going to have with upping your prices is yourself. It's not going to be your clients. And yes, you're going to lose one or two, but maybe you need to lose those one or two, and that'd be my view on that. Charge what you're worth, and if people are willing to pay that price, that's great. And if you're going to offer them exceptional customer service, you're going to get clinical outcomes for them, they're happy to pay it. What's the issue?
The other thing I would say on the price charge, and I know we're at 65 for a half-hour session, and I think if we were to look and go, why are you doing that? It's because we're offering the best quality service. But then the other thing is, we want to make sure that we're attracting the right employees to our business, because if you can't pay them well or give them a reward for what they're doing, then they're just going to go to the HSC. So unless you have the revenue generated from raising your prices in order to pay the staff, you're not going to be able to get the staff.
Absolutely, and you're going to get top class staff as a consequence of charging us, because you can pay them very well, and they'll feel valued in themselves because they know what they're doing is making a huge difference. And again, in the end of it, while it's not about money all the time, that you need that to be able to attract the right people as well. So I think the price thing is so important that we value ourselves at that level. But again, we have to be providing the customer service and the clinical outcomes to justify that as well. So this idea of money hungry is I don't buy into at all. You're providing clinical excellence and customer care, and there is a cost to that. Listen, if price was a problem for everyone, we'd all be driving around the cheapest car in the world. Yet people are driving Mercs and BMWs. Why is that? Because they're a better product, and that's the reality. And we have to be the Mercedes and the BMWs of this world, really.
Yeah, nice, 100%. So, Brian, if anyone was thinking about joining PracticeNav, what would you say to them, or working with PracticeNav? What advice would you give them, or would you say like they're on the fence, or they're going, "Oh, I'm not really sure it's for me. I'm maybe too small to start off, or I'm at the end, they won't be able to help me." Or what would you say to that?
The two groups of people there, that you've just talked about. So the people who are just starting, the worst thing I ever did was not start. I should have started with this at the start. I would have been much clearer. I wouldn't have had 5 years literally, essentially in the ground, burying myself. I would have had much more structure from the start. I would have much clearer ideas about what staff I was going to hire. I would have been really very clear about what type of business I wanted. And I think that's key questions, because a lot of us just open a business and just hope to get busy, and you don't think any deeper than that. But what type of business you want, how you want it to look, how you structure that, everything is from the start. So I would think anyone who's starting, the best thing you do is join the group, even for the weekly meetings, just to get ideas off clinicians who've done it. There's clinicians there who are 40 years qualified, and they're top class, and the advice they have is brilliant. And there's guys doing various other things with technology, strength and conditioning. They're looking at how the industry is moving. So you're going to get great ideas around that. People are at the end of their career and trying to get out. You need an exit strategy. And again, you've obviously had a successful enough career to get to this point. But if you put structures around it, that business is worth nothing unless you have structures and systems around it. You're not selling a physio practice. You're selling systems and structures. So the idea of previously just selling a book of clients is not really true. Inherently, what you're selling now is systems. So if you could get really good systems in place before you sell a business, and a really good plan, that maybe you could, sell the practice, work in it for a number of years, while the person who's bought it from you can set it up and keep going. But if you have those systems in there in place for them, what you're going to find is you're going to get much more out of your practice, and you'll probably end up being an employee of that practice and quite happy as a consequence of that as well for the time you want to keep working. So I think either end of the spectrum, you need to look at it. If you're in the middle of it, like I am myself, I just find it super from an ideas point of view. You come up with something, you think, God, I wonder how that'd work. And again, the echo chamber is a dangerous thing of listening to yourself. Whereas if you introduce that to 15, 20 other physios, and they say, Brian, hang on a minute, there's a lot of issues there. You need to start thinking about this, this, and this. It forces you out of your comfort zone, which is a great thing. Because the echo chamber is a dangerous, dangerous place to be, because you'll only see your own viewpoint, but having 15, 20 top class physios to bounce that idea off is great. And all they want to do is help you, and it's an environment that we're all trying to push each other forward and support each other. And it's not competition, it's just support. That's all it is,
Brian, that is fantastic. Really appreciate your feedback on that. And look, we won't take any more of your time. Really enjoyed chatting to you this morning. So thanks very much for having the interview with us. And we will see you next Monday on the call, and we'll go from there. Thanks very much.